Life is a video game. Maybe I had nerd brain. Maybe I was onto something. Not quite sure. However, I'd like to be a little bit whimsical in this video and kind of take on that perspective once again in a new light. 4 years later. 4 years on the tube. Not nearly as glorious then as I am now, but that's okay. I still had a point. Now, if I can recall, I was saying something along the lines of life is like a video game because a video game character usually gets better as time goes on. The more you play the game, the more you get better at it. You go out, you slay some dragons, as Jordan Peterson would say. You slay the dragon. You get some loot, you get some XP, and you come back home. You go back to your base, you recalibrate, you recollect, you sort out your armor, your loot, and then you go out and fight bigger bosses. That was sort of the premises I was taking with that video. Needless to say, upon looking back, that makes a lot of sense. That definitely seems to be true. Although not like literally speaking, but metaphorically, the dragon being things you find challenging, things you find difficult. Maybe you want to start a business, maybe you want to start going to the gym, maybe you want to start martial arts, whatever it might be. That is like the metaphorical dragon. And each and every time you go out and you defeat one of these challenges, it gets a little bit easier. You level up, if you will. You gain a skill tree, you gain armor, you gain a better weapon, whatever it is. And you're rewarded for the level of the dragon that you slay. Also, I don't know if I tacked on this point, but life is like an adventure. Like, when you start off in your video game map and you have your home base, right? It's like this, the map's like this big. And then you have your little home base right here. This is your observable area. This is all you know. So when you this is your safety spot. But then when you branch out, you encounter something, you're like, whoa, what is this? And then you either run back or you keep exploring. But as you explore, your horizon sort of starts to open and broaden, and then you get a good terrain of the map that's around you. Obviously, there's DLCs. Maybe you go to the Europe DLC, brand new map, and you gotta figure it out. Tons of DLCs. However, your main game, very small, and then you sort of expand. You chart the territory, and then you sort of plan your course from there, plan your life out from that point on. Not quite sure of all the points that I made in that video. I mainly remember just the going out, slaying the dragon, getting the XP, leveling up. After all these years, I'd say it's definitely true. I must say I would use that mindset here and there. Like if there was something that was scary, like maybe it was a jiu-jitsu tournament, I'd be like, this is like the metaphorical dragon that I've got to slay, and I would just kind of imagine myself getting some loot or some armor. Like maybe it's complete nerd brain, but it did help. It was a good perspective. And I remember, I think there was a comment from somebody that said, this is 100% true. It was like one of the first comments I ever got on this YouTube channel was on that video, because that was definitely one of the first videos. And it was like, this is 100% true, totally correct, or something like that. So shout out to that guy. And yeah, that was definitely a spark for the YouTube channel for sure. That was definitely a words of encouragement for a young warrior, a armorless naked warrior. Like in Dark Souls. In Dark Souls 3, that's an excellent metaphor. Actually, I don't think I used that analogy in the first video, but Dark Souls 3 has got to be the perfect analogy as a young man in the terms of life being like a video game. Dark Souls 3, you start out with nothing but a loincloth. You're plopped in this world, there's no instructions, there's nothing telling you where to go. All you know is that you press the joystick forward and you move. I don't even think you know how to attack. And then you run into this like greasy, decrepit, straggly little goblin skeleton thing, and he like one taps you, just like smacks you upside the head, and you're dead. It's game over. You got to go back to the start, right? Eventually, you figure out, maybe you run by, maybe you roll. He goes to attack you, do a little roll, and you just fly by him. You don't even bother attacking him. You make it by, and then you find like a shoe or something, and you like put these shoes on. Then you get like a little bit of protection, and you run to the next goblin. He whacks you upside the head. Now you have 1 health because that shoe, he hit you on the toe, and it like deflected the shot, and now you're able to run by with your 1 HP, and then you get weather damage. Something happens, you drink something stupid, you drink a potion, and then you die. So then you restart, and then slowly, you learn to attack, you find these things, and then you get better. But Dark Souls is such a good game. It's such a great like analogy for life in a sense, because it's not easy. It does not hold your hand, and literally the only way to beat the game is to get good. Like, that's kind of like a quote in the community, is get good. If you're not good at the game, you're not going to beat the game. You're not going to level up. And I've heard, I didn't really look into the science of it, but I've heard that Dark Souls, the game series, brought people out of depression. These people had they had nothing going for them. They had no challenge. They had no goal to strive for. And then somebody plops this game on their lap, and they try it, and it's actually a challenge. They watch themselves progress. They actually have to learn the timing, learn the moves, learn the dance of the game to get good. And by the time those people ended up beating the game, it cured their depression. I mean, that's pretty crazy right there. That's a game and a half. That's a game worth playing. Sometimes I'll find myself just thinking, I want to play Dark Souls 3 again. That was a very good game, I must say. But great analogy for life. I mean, as men, we start off with metaphorically nothing but a loincloth, and we got to figure it out, And along the way, maybe we're born with some strength, Maybe you got that mage class, you select your mage class. Maybe you're a little bit, you're a little bit crafty, you're a little bit sneaky, how to weasel your way around certain scenarios, get yourself a little bit ahead. Maybe you're that warrior class, you just got brute strength, brute force. You're able to just kind of force yourself through to the next level. Maybe you got that spy class, your reconnaissance. There's so many. We all have our own little strengths, and then eventually, in Dark Souls, I love to specialize in dexterity and speed. So it's very a very quick, a very nimble, speedy, with a little bit of mage. I find myself getting these spells, and then I would search online. I get the meta down, and be like, all right, you want to have a lot of dexterity, but also a lot of magic too, so you can use this certain move that just blasts fireballs and just completely wrecks these enemies. So it was a lot of fun, but some people do really good in the warrior class. They start speccing into the armor, the strength, really slow, but just boom, it's going for the home runs. Tons of different ways to play the game, tons of different ways to go through life. And yeah, though, I feel like getting good is a surefire way to excel. You know, get good, be good or be good at it is what I like to say. I don't necessarily know exactly what that means, but I heard it in a rap song when I was a kid, and I thought that bar hit. You know, be good or be good at it. Get good or get good at it. But yeah, life, in a sense, is like a video game. Um, I mean, some people rage quit, man. That's crazy to think about. Some people, like, you know, you hear about those people where they're playing a video game and then they get so mad they like throw the controller through the TV. They like grab the console, like just destroy the thing. Just pure chaos. Just absolutely eviscerate the disc. Just destroy the console. Rage quit, out of the game, gotta buy a new console. You know, some people will like rage quit out of life. It'll be like, you know, the game's too hard, they don't want to get good, so they just are like, F it. And I don't know. That's not a strategy I would recommend to anyone. I mean, that's not a good strategy. I mean, that is an option. Don't think it's a really good strategy in my personal opinion. But yeah, I hope you like this video. I hope you specialize in the gym skill tree. I must say, the martial arts skill tree. I would recommend that. You know, here's a little meta, a little game strategy, if you will. Is I would definitely recommend, you know, when you get your next skill point, when you get your next coins, when you get your shekels to throw around a little bit, I definitely recommend investing in the egg food category. The egg food category will, from my experience, give you gains. The egg category, you know, always just carrying around a few eggs, you know, just have like a handful, 5-6 eggs in your inventory every day, and I feel like you'll be set. I feel like that'll give you such a great boost among the average player of the game that it'll bring you ahead a few notches, right? Definitely recommend the specking in the egg. Maybe you'll come across a mystic egg, a mythical egg, and you'll get gains beyond belief. I'm still looking, I'm still hunting for that mystic egg. But yeah, I'd also recommend maybe dabbling a few skill points, you know, into juicy physique, into the gym. Just good overall for morale, you know, good for morale, good for, you know, strength, obviously. That warrior class especially. Even if you're a mage, definitely recommend specking in the gym a little bit, and also dabbling a little bit in martial arts. You know, life's a game in a sense, and I personally like that combo. The egg, gym, and jiu-jitsu bundle is definitely a game changer in my opinion. Helped me out a lot. I don't even think when I made the original video, I don't even know if I had the gym at that point. You know, I was really walking around like that brand new Dark Souls character. I had no idea. I found the instructions of the video game, guys. Okay, that's what was going on then. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go to like click my oldest videos, and then you can see like that. That is somebody finding the instructions of the video game. You know, they start walking out, keep getting wrecked by these scrubby little goblins, and then finally decide to read the instructions, and it's like, whoa. Great instruction, by the way, is the Bible. I must say that would be the meta, you know, meta of the game. Reading the Bible, that's like learning how to walk. That's like learning how to press A to attack. Definitely would recommend. Anyhow, yeah, that was like finding the instructions mode. At this point, I can say, you know, a couple bosses have been destroyed. A couple bosses have been demolished at this point. You know, some armor added to the character, a few gilded weapons, a little bit of juice and steez has been acquired, which is great. Even a steed, even a majestic steed has been found along the way. That's got to be one of the greatest finds, you know. Obviously, greatest find I must say is when you're out and about, you may find yourself a Wifington. You may just happen to find yourself a Wifington on your journeys. That's got to be the greatest find, in my personal opinion. Then, you know what? Then you can start a family. You know, there you go. But anyways, found a Steedington along the way, my blessed Steedington. So that's absolutely great. So yeah, life's pretty amazing. It's kind of funny to look back. You know, sometimes you look back and you're like, what the heck? Like, like you just see how far you've come, and it's like, wow, thank goodness. You know, sometimes you have to thank younger you for specking in the skill tree that he did, and you know, going hard, going ham. I want my steed to come. Oh, Steed's sleeping right now. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Do take care, and until next time.